I built my fortune without a moral compass. For 40 years, I accumulated wealth without clear ethical framework. I made decisions based on profit, based on efficiency, based on growth, based on competition, based on building empire, based on becoming wealthy, based on dominating industry, based on winning. I made decisions based on everything except morality, everything except ethics, everything except right and wrong. I built my fortune without a moral compass, without ethical framework, without clear values beyond success, without principles beyond profit, without morality beyond winning. I built my fortune without a moral compass. Then something changed. Not suddenly, not dramatically, not through revelation, but gradually, over years, through accumulation of consequences, through weight of choices, through burden of success, through realization of cost, through understanding of responsibility, through recognition of harm, through awareness of legacy. Something changed. I developed a moral compass, not to guide building fortune. Fortune was already built, but to guide using fortune, to guide understanding fortune, to guide bearing responsibility of fortune, to guide creating meaning from fortune. I developed a moral compass late, too late for many things, but not too late for everything. I developed a moral compass that guided my fortune, not in building, but in using, not in accumulating, but in distributing, not in taking, but in giving. The moral compass that guided my fortune. Let me tell you about this compass, about the principles that emerged, about the framework that developed, about the ethics that guided, not the building, but the using, the moral compass that guided my fortune. The first principle, wealth beyond personal need, is held in trust for society. This principle emerged from simple question: what is wealth for? Not how to get wealth, not how to accumulate wealth, not how to build wealth, but what is wealth for? What is its purpose? What is its meaning? What should be done with it? What is wealth for? This question haunted me after selling Carnegie Steel, after becoming richest man in the world, after accumulating $500 million, after achieving everything I set out to achieve. What is wealth for? This question would not leave me, would not let me rest, would not allow peace. What is wealth for? And the answer that emerged became my first principle. Wealth beyond personal need is held in trust for society. I did not create my wealth alone. I created it using systems society built, using infrastructure society funded, using laws society established, using education society provided, using markets society regulated, using peace society maintained, using everything society created that made wealth accumulation possible. I did not create wealth alone. Society made it possible. Society created conditions. Society provided structure. Society enabled accumulation. I used what society built to create wealth. Therefore, wealth is not purely mine, is partially mine for creating it, is partially society's for enabling it. Wealth beyond what I personally need belongs not to me but to society that made it possible, is held in trust, is temporary stewardship, is responsibility, not ownership, is obligation, not possession. Wealth beyond personal need is held in trust for society. This became my first principle, my foundational belief, my core conviction, the beginning of my moral compass. This principle changed everything, changed how I saw wealth, changed what I did with wealth, changed my relationship to wealth, changed my responsibility for wealth, changed my purpose with wealth, changed everything. Wealth was no longer possession to hoard, was trust to manage, was responsibility to discharge, was obligation to fulfill, was stewardship to execute. Wealth was trust, and trust must be returned, must be deployed, must be distributed, must be used for purposes of trust. for benefit of society that enabled accumulation, for good of people who made wealth possible. Trust must be returned. This principle required action, required distribution, required giving, required deploying wealth for public good, required building institutions, required creating opportunities, required systematic philanthropy, required giving away fortune. This principle required everything I did after selling, everything I built with wealth, everything I created with fortune, all flowed from this principle. Wealth beyond personal need is held in trust for society. This was my first principle, the foundation of my moral compass. The second principle, the man who dies rich dies disgraced. This principle followed from first. If wealth is held in trust, then dying with wealth means failing as trustee, means not discharging responsibility, means not fulfilling obligation, means not executing stewardship, means keeping what should have been returned, means hoarding what should have been deployed, means dying having failed at fundamental duty. The man who dies rich dies disgraced, not because being rich is wrong, but because dying rich means dying having failed to deploy trust, having failed to return what was held in trust, having failed to fulfill responsibility, having failed to discharge obligation, having failed as trustee. This is disgrace, not public disgrace, moral disgrace, internal disgrace, disgrace of knowing you failed fundamental duty, failed to do what wealth required, failed to return trust, failed to discharge responsibility, failed as steward. This is disgrace. The disgrace of dying rich, of dying having hoarded trust, of dying having failed duty. The man who dies rich dies disgraced. This became my second principle. This principle created urgency, created imperative, created necessity, created pressure to give now, to distribute soon, to deploy immediately, to return trust before death, to discharge responsibility while living, to fulfill obligation before dying, to execute stewardship during life, to give away fortune before death, to die having distributed, to die having deployed, to die having returned trust, to die having discharged responsibility, to die having fulfilled obligation, to die having executed stewardship, to die not rich but having given, not wealthy but having distributed, not possessing but having deployed, to die having avoided disgrace, having succeeded as trustee, having returned trust, having discharged responsibility, having fulfilled duty. This principle created urgency, created the imperative that drove my final years, the necessity that consumed my energy, the pressure that directed my action, to give away 90% of fortune, to build thousands of libraries, to fund universities, to establish institutions, to deploy wealth systematically, to return trust completely, to discharge responsibility totally, to fulfill obligation entirely, to execute stewardship successfully, to die not rich, to die having given, to die avoiding disgrace, to die having succeeded as trustee. This principle drove everything. The man who dies rich dies disgraced. This was my second principle. The third principle, give to capability, not comfort. This principle guided how I distributed wealth, what I funded, what I built, what I created. Not all giving is equal. Not all distribution creates equal value. Not all deployment generates equal benefit. Some giving creates temporary comfort. Some creates permanent capability. Some provides relief today. Some builds capacity for tomorrow. Some helps people survive. Some helps people thrive. Some gives fish. Some teaches fishing. Difference matters enormously. Given to comfort helps temporarily, given to capability helps permanently, given to relief helps today, given to capacity helps forever, given to survival helps individuals, giving to thriving helps societies, give to capability, not comfort. This became my third principle. This guided my distribution. I built libraries, not poorhouses. Libraries build capability, build capacity for learning, build opportunity for education, build foundation for self-improvement, build tools for advancement. Libraries give people ability to help themselves, to learn skills, to gain knowledge, to develop capabilities, to create opportunities, to build better lives. Libraries build capability, not provide comfort, not give relief, not ensure survival. Build capability, build capacity, build foundation, build opportunity. Libraries help people help themselves, help people build their own futures, help people create their own success, help people develop their own capabilities. This is permanent help. This is lasting benefit. This is multiplying value. This is given to capability. This is what I chose. Libraries, not poorhouses. Education, not handouts. Capability, not comfort. Opportunity, not relief. Teaching fishing, not giving fish. This was my third principle. I funded universities, not direct aid. Universities build capability, build educated citizens, build skilled workers, build innovative thinkers, build leaders, build everything society needs to progress. Universities multiply value. One educated person educates others. One skilled worker trains others. One innovative thinker inspires others. One leader develops others. Universities multiply, create compounding benefit, create lasting impact, create permanent value. Universities build capability, not provide comfort, not give relief, not ensure survival. Build capability, build capacity, build multiplication, build compounding, build everything that creates lasting value. This is what I chose. Universities, not direct aid. Education, not handouts. Capability, not comfort. Multiplication, not relief. Compounding, not temporary. This was my third principle guiding distribution. This principle was hard to maintain. Temptation to give direct aid was strong. Temptation to provide immediate relief was powerful. Temptation to ensure comfort was compelling. Suffering is visible, is immediate, is compelling. Capability building is invisible, is delayed, is abstract. Suffering demands response now. Capability building requires patience, requires delayed gratification, requires resisting urge to help immediately, requires choosing lasting over immediate, requires choosing capability over comfort. This was hard, was difficult, was against instinct, but was right, was more valuable, was more lasting, was more beneficial, was more impactful. Giving to capability, not comfort, created more value, created lasting benefit, created multiplying impact, created permanent change. This was harder but better, more difficult but more valuable, against instinct but more beneficial. Give to capability, not comfort. This was my third principle. The fourth principle, build institutions, not monuments. This principle guided what I created with wealth, how I deployed fortune, what I built with resources, not what benefits me, but what serves others, not what preserves my name, but what helps people, not what glorifies me, but what creates value, not monuments, but institutions, not buildings with my name, but systems that serve people, not statues of me, but libraries that educate, not tributes to my achievement, but universities that teach, not monuments, institutions, not preservation of memory, but creation of value, not glorification of self, but service to others. Build institutions, not monuments. This was my fourth principle. Monuments serve the dead, institutions serve the living. Monuments preserve memory, institutions create value. Monuments look backward, institutions work forward. Monuments are about past, institutions are about future. Monuments honour builder, institutions serve users. Monuments are for ego, institutions are for service. Difference is fundamental, difference is complete, difference is everything. I chose institutions, chose service over memory, chose value over preservation, chose helping over honouring, chose forward over backward, chose living over dead, chose institutions, not monuments. This was my fourth principle. My name is on buildings, on libraries, on universities, on institutions. This looks like monuments, looks like ego, looks like preservation of memory, but purpose was different. Purpose was not preservation, purpose was inspiration, purpose was encouraging others. If wealthy people see my name on libraries, perhaps they build libraries too. If successful people see my name on universities, perhaps they fund universities too. If powerful people see systematic giving, perhaps they give systematically too. My name was tool, was encouragement, was inspiration, was multiplication of giving, not monument, not ego, not preservation, tool for inspiring others to give, to build, to create institutions, to serve. My name was means, not end, was tool, not purpose, was inspiration, not monument. This was my reasoning, my justification, my explanation. Whether true or rationalization, I cannot know, but this was my thinking, my name as tool for inspiring giving, not monument for preserving memory. This was my fourth principle. Build institutions, not monuments. The fifth principle, give strategically, not emotionally. This principle guided how I gave, how I made decisions about distribution, how I chose what to fund, how I deployed resources, not based on emotion, not based on sympathy, not based on feelings, not based on guilt, not based on compassion alone, based on strategy, based on analysis, based on impact, based on multiplication, based on lasting value, based on systematic thinking, based on effectiveness. Give strategically, not emotionally. This was my fifth principle. Emotional giving responds to immediate need, responds to visible suffering, responds to compelling story, responds to guilt, responds to sympathy, responds to feelings. Emotional giving feels good, feels right, feels compassionate, feels human, but emotional giving often helps less, creates less value, generates less impact, multiplies less, lasts less, because emotional giving responds to feeling, not thinking, to sympathy, not strategy, to immediate, not lasting, to visible, not impactful, to feeling good, not doing good. Emotional giving serves giver more than receiver, makes giver feel compassionate, feel generous, feel good, but does not necessarily create maximum value, does not necessarily generate maximum impact, does not necessarily help most effectively. Emotional giving feels right but may not be right, may not be most effective, may not create most value, may not help most people most lastingly. Strategic giving analyzes need, analyzes solutions, analyzes impact, analyzes multiplication, analyzes lasting value, analyzes effectiveness. Strategic giving asks not what feels good, asks what does good, asks not what makes me feel compassionate, asks what actually helps, asks not what responds to visible suffering, asks what solves root problems, asks not what relieves immediately, asks what prevents permanently. Strategic giving thinks, analyzes, calculates, measures, evaluates, strategizes. Strategic giving may feel cold, may seem uncompassionate, may appear calculating, but strategic giving helps more, creates more value, generates more impact, multiplies more, lasts longer, because strategic giving optimizes for helping, not feeling, for effectiveness, not emotion, for impact, not sympathy, for value, not guilt, for results, not feelings. Strategic giving helps more even though feels less, does more good even though seems less good, creates more value even though appears less compassionate. Give strategically, not emotionally. This was my fifth principle. I gave to libraries strategically, not because individual stories moved me emotionally, but because libraries systematically built capability, created lasting value, multiplied impact, helped generations, solved root problems, created permanent benefit. Strategic analysis said libraries were effective, were valuable, were impactful, were multiplying, were lasting. So I built libraries, thousands of libraries, systematically, strategically, based on analysis, not emotion, based on thinking, not feeling, based on effectiveness, not sympathy. This was harder, felt colder, seemed less compassionate, but created more value, helped more people, generated more impact, lasted longer, multiplied further. Strategic giving was better given even though felt worse, was more effective even though seemed less compassionate, created more value even though appeared less emotional. Give strategically, not emotionally. This was my fifth principle. These 5 principles formed my moral compass. Wealth beyond personal need is held in trust for society. The man who dies rich dies disgraced. Give to capability, not comfort. Build institutions, not monuments. Give strategically, not emotionally. These principles guided my fortune, not in building. Building was guided by profit, by efficiency, by competition, by winning, by everything except morality. But using was guided by these principles, by this moral compass, by this ethical framework, by these values, by this morality. These principles guided distribution, guided giving, guided philanthropy, guided systematic deployment of wealth, guided creation of institutions, guided building of libraries, guided funding of universities, guided everything I did with fortune after accumulating fortune. These principles formed my moral compass, the compass that guided my fortune, not in building, but in using, not in taking, but in giving, not in accumulating, but in distributing. The moral compass that guided my fortune. Did I follow this compass perfectly? No. Did I violate these principles? Yes. Did I give emotionally sometimes? Yes. Did I build some monuments? Yes. Did I fail to give to capability always? Yes. Did I die richer than I intended? Yes. I failed repeatedly, constantly, imperfectly. I failed to follow my moral compass perfectly, failed to execute these principles completely, failed to live these values totally. I failed, but I tried to follow compass, tried to execute principles, tried to live values, tried to give systematically, tried to build institutions, tried to create capability, tried to return trust, tried to discharge responsibility, tried to fulfill obligation, tried to avoid disgrace, tried to die having given, tried imperfectly, incompletely, inadequately, but tried. This is what moral compass does. Doesn't guarantee perfection, doesn't ensure complete success, doesn't promise total fulfillment, just guides, just directs, just points, just helps, just tries. Moral compass guides trying, not guarantees succeeding, guides effort, not ensures outcome, guides intention, not guarantees execution. I tried, guided by moral compass, imperfectly but tried. Why did moral compass emerge late? Why not guide building? Why not shape accumulating? Why only guide distributing? I have asked this question 10,000 times, have no complete answer. Partial answer is that building required ruthlessness that morality would have prevented, required decisions that ethics would have forbidden, required actions that values would have stopped. Building required suspending morality, required ignoring ethics, required abandoning values, required becoming amoral, required focusing on profit, not right, on winning, not good, on efficiency, not compassion, on growth, not fairness. Building required amorality, required suspension of moral compass, required abandonment of ethical framework, required focus on results, not righteousness. This is partial answer. Building required what morality would prevent. So morality was suspended during building, was abandoned during accumulating, was ignored during competing, was set aside during rising. Morality would have prevented building, would have stopped accumulating, would have forbidden competing, would have prevented rising. So morality was suspended, set aside, ignored, abandoned until building was complete, until accumulation was finished, until competition was won, until rising was achieved. Then morality returned, then compass emerged, then principles developed, then framework formed, then values appeared. Late. Too late for building, but not too late for using, not too late for distributing, not too late for giving, not too late for creating meaning, not too late for discharging responsibility, not too late for avoiding disgrace, late but not too late. Moral compass emerged late but emerged, guided late but guided, directed imperfectly but directed. This is partial answer to why late. Building required suspension of morality, using allowed return of morality. Building required amorality, using enabled morality. Building prevented compass, using created compass. This is partial answer. Is this justification? Is this rationalization? Is this excuse? Is this explanation? Yes. All of these: justification, rationalization, excuse, explanation, all of these simultaneously. I justify late emergence. I rationalize suspension during building. I excuse amorality during accumulating. I explain return during distributing. All simultaneously, all inadequately, all imperfectly, all insufficiently, but all honestly. This is what happened. Morality was suspended during building, returned during using, was absent during taking, present during giving, was ignored during accumulating, embraced during distributing. This is what happened. This is my truth. This is my explanation. Inadequate, imperfect, insufficient, but honest. This is what happened. Moral compass emerged late, guided using not building, directed giving not taking, shaped distributing not accumulating, emerged late but emerged, guided imperfectly but guided. This is what happened. Should moral compass have guided building? Should ethics have shaped accumulating? Should values have directed competing? Should morality have prevented ruthlessness? Should principles have stopped harm? Should framework have forbidden cruelty? Yes, obviously yes, clearly yes, undeniably yes, should have, but did not, should have guided building, but did not, should have shaped accumulating, but did not, should have directed competing, but did not, should have prevented ruthlessness, but did not, should have stopped harm, but did not, should have forbidden cruelty, but did not, should have, but did not. This is failure, this is wrong, this is moral failure, this is ethical failing, this is values violation, this is shame, this is regret, this is weight I carry, this is burden I bear, this is responsibility I accept. Should have guided building, but did not. Should have, but did not. This is my moral failure, my ethical failing, my values violation, my shame, my regret, my burden, my responsibility. Should have, but did not. Can moral compass guide in using redeem immoral building? Can ethical distribution compensate for unethical accumulation? Can values driven given balance, values absent taken? Can moral using redeem immoral building? No. Cannot redeem, cannot compensate, cannot balance, cannot undo, cannot erase, cannot eliminate, cannot reverse. Using morally does not redeem building immorally. Giving ethically does not compensate for taking unethically. Distributing with values does not balance accumulating without values. Cannot redeem, cannot undo, can only try to create future good, try to build lasting value, try to help people, try to serve society, try to discharge responsibility, try to fulfill obligation, try to avoid dying disgraced, try to create meaning from fortune, try to make accumulation worthwhile, try to justify taking by giving, try, but cannot redeem, cannot undo, cannot erase, can only try to create some good from accumulated harm, some value from accumulated wrong, some benefit from accumulated ruthlessness, try to create good, but cannot undo harm, try to build value, but cannot erase wrong, try to serve, but cannot redeem. This is reality. This is truth. This is what I live with. Cannot redeem building by using, cannot undo taking by giving. Can only try to create good from bad, value from wrong, benefit from harm, try, but cannot redeem. This is the moral compass that guided my fortune. 5 principles. Wealth is trust. Dying rich is disgrace. Give to capability. Build institutions. Give strategically. These principles guided distribution, guided giving, guided using, guided everything after building. These principles formed moral compass, imperfect compass, late compass, insufficient compass, but compass nonetheless. Compass that guided, that directed, that shaped, that influenced, compass that tried, that aimed, that pointed towards something better, towards something valuable, towards something meaningful, towards something good. Imperfect compass, but compass, late compass, but compass, insufficient compass, but compass. The moral compass that guided my fortune, not in building, but in using, not in taking, but in giving, not in accumulating, but in distributing. The moral compass that guided my fortune, imperfect, late, insufficient, but real, but present, but guiding. The moral compass that guided my fortune,